Braveheart Workshops, inspiring connection. Restore, renew, and reconnect in community. Live well, laugh often, love much. Join our online connection circles. Be empowered in our virtual live events. Be a guest on our podcast shows. Hire us or be hired for speaking engagements. Enhance hope, health, and healing in your lives. Creating global connections. The Connection Show, sponsored by Braveheart Workshops, live with Jill Reynolds. The Connection Show, creating hope, health, and healing in 2021, sponsored by Braveheart Workshops, live with Jill Reynolds. And joining me today is my special guest, Charlene Sparks. Welcome to the show, Charlene.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me, Jill. I appreciate it.
Well, we are just so very honored that you took time out of your busy life to join us. And I would love the audience to know a little bit about you. So, Charlene Sparks is the founder for Women with Vision Incorporated, which is a non-for-profit organization designed to empower women to embrace abundant living through the impartation of knowledge, the strengthening of faith, and the birthing of vision. As a woman with vision, Charlene understands how important it is to create an atmosphere of adoration while pursuing her passion and keeping spiritual principles in the right perspective. Charlene is also the co-founder for Advantage Health Connection, a preventative health service providing health and wellness resources, health coaching, health education, workshops, seminars, and consultations. After 38 years of diversified clinical nursing experience, Charlene was led to become a diabetes peer educator and a lifestyle coach. Charlene has facilitated and trained over 1,000 participants in caregivers self-care education, diabetes education, and trainings throughout churches and senior centers throughout North Carolina, Georgia, and Virginia. Her latest addition for empowerment education is in business development and self-care for business owners. Remember, every day is an opportunity to design your day. So welcome. That is a beautiful bio, Charlene.
Thank you so much, Jill. I appreciate that.
And where are you joining us from? Are you in North Carolina?
I am from Greensboro, North Carolina.
All righty. Well, we're just so grateful that you could be with us. And Charlene, on the Connection Show, I believe that through my long line of recovery and healing in my personal life, that story is so impactful in our lives. And I believe that each of us has a story. Some feel they're big stories and some feel they're not so big. But every story is the individual's life journey. And so through that, we at the Connection Show believe it's so important to be authentic in life and to connect
Mhm.
the dots of how that story brought you through the journey of where you are today. So, what we like to do on our show, Charlene, if you're willing, and you can go as
Mhm.
deep and wide as you're willing, to take us
Okay.
back to growing up as a little girl and what your life was like in your home, and then how that growing up led you into what you're doing today in life.
Awesome. Thank you for giving me that summer and taking me back to when I was first born and when I started out. I was born in a little town called Concord, North Carolina, about 20 miles out of Charlotte. And I grew up in a family. Actually, my mom and dad, they were pretty decent people, and they loved people. However, we're just like any other family. We had a lot of dysfunctionality going on in our family life as well. Actually, I grew up in the family. My father was a known alcoholic. As I was growing up, and we had many challenges in our home due to, him being an alcoholic. But at the same time, he was a strong entrepreneur. My father owned a dry cleaning business for 45 years. At the same time, my mom, she was a beautician, and we had our own beauty salon, in our community attached to our small home. So we had a lot of things going on in the home. A little bit of, I can say, maybe a little bit of domestic violence too, due to the alcoholism and, just trying to bring things together. But just to bring it up a little bit closer,
Well,
my father.
let me pause for a moment there because
Mhm,
I think what's important for the audience to know, and I'm so grateful you shared that with us, is just
mhm.
because a person is an alcoholic does not mean they're on the streets, because many alcoholics have to function so that they make enough money to continue their alcoholism. And so as a
Yes.
person, like you said, your dad was an entrepreneur. It was imperative he made enough money, A, to keep a roof over his head and the children and food, but to also have enough money to provide him with the alcohol he needed to stay alive. And so many people don't understand that an alcoholic isn't someone necessarily who's on the street. They have to function enough to make enough money to keep their addictions going.
That is the truth. That is so good because we were, as a child, I felt like we were pretty well taken care of as far as food, clothing, shelter, the basic needs. At the same time, I understood, the home was still a little bit dysfunctional. So when I was 16 years old, we had like, and I mean, even during that time, my father was a member of a church, went to church. He was a weekend alcoholic. He worked his business during the weekday. He had alcohol on Friday and Saturday, and he was in the church on Sunday morning. And you know what? I don't knock that, because when I was 16 years old, whatever transpired spiritually in him, he was instantly delivered from alcoholism. And what happened, I saw a transition in our home. I mean, we had some rough years coming up, but when he made God made that transition in his life, our entire home environment changed over. So I'm not going to get in all the things that happened as a child, because I'll be here with you all day long. But the victorious part of this was when he got, I guess he was saved, but he got delivered. There's a difference in, just going to church and just following the routine. When you have a spiritual experience and deliverance take place, then you're going to see a change. And so when I was in high school, 16 years old, I grew up with five brothers. I was the only daughter, and it was like a transition in our home, just to see how God began to transition us. And my brothers were a lot older, so they were on their way out of the house to start their own lives and everything. But I just wanted to share that portion of my childhood growing up, that it wasn't peaches and cream. at the same time, when people look at you, sometimes they think that your journey was just perfect. And no, our journey was not perfect.
Well, and I think too, Charlene, and this resonates for me in my background,
Hmm.
is because when you're living in a home with dysfunction, and
Hmm.
most of the time the children don't even know they're living in a home of dysfunction. And that may sound strange to the audience, but
Hmm.
sometimes when this is your life, and you don't live anywhere else but your own home, you kind of go through life thinking this is how everybody lives. And so until you get older and then maybe you start to reassess and connect the dots in your life, all of a sudden light bulbs go off and you're like, wait a minute, that was a really dysfunctional place that I lived, and there was a lot of craziness going on. But I know that resonates for me because I didn't even know I was living in a dysfunctional home until my whole world collapsed. And then I started going to therapy, and my therapist actually told me, Charlene, that she said, I don't think I've ever counseled anyone who lived in as much trauma as you did. And yet,
Hmm.
people who knew me as a child growing up, my old friends, said I had no idea that that's what you were living in. And to be honest with you, I don't even think I knew because I thought that that was what was normal. Can you resonate with that?
I can resonate with that because when I graduated from high school and college and I went on and I started seeing other people how their lives were how they were living with their families, and that's when I began to really realize, wow, so many families live so many different ways, but that dysfunctionality, it comes in so many ways. And I say, wow, we were dysfunctional, but we didn't even realize it. We
Yeah.
felt like we were doing pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Until
Yeah.
later, I say, "Oh my, okay." So
Yeah,
I
and
can
I
understand that.
remember hearing a topic years and years ago in the '80s, and it was called codependency in the looking good family. It looks good, it smells good, it seems good, but man, are we all crazy? And nobody knows that the family's so
Yes, I
codependently.
remember that as a nurse.
Say that again. You cut out. Sorry, say that again.
Okay, I was saying, as a nurse, I had worked in psychiatric hospitals for maybe about 15 years of my life. And then I was dealing with a lot of individuals with codependency. And I say, woo, I'm right along with them in that group with codependency. And so it was just so enlightening to know that, we all are here. We all can get through it regardless of what level you're on. Codependency hits every level.
Well,
And
and
so,
you being a caregiver, especially, the definition I learned, I was born in 1992 when healthcare insurance was covering codependency as and recognizing it in the DSM medical books as a disease. I was able to go to treatment for 30 days for my codependency to recover. And
okay.
the definition that I got was when we allow people, places, or things to become more important than ourselves, then we're in the midst of codependency because we lose our identity. And people, it's easy
Yes.
to understand with people, but with places, it could be your job. Like if you're codependent of your job or even church, I've seen people who become almost addicted to going to church 7 days a week, 5 hours, whatever.
Yeah.
And then things can be
Mhm.
the things we can be codependent of are shopping, gambling, sex, drugs, alcohol, food, all kinds of things.
Oh, yeah.
And
Mhm.
the one that really resonates, I think, and as the audience is listening, the thing that people can be codependent of, believe it or not, is busyness in their life. Being so busy that they lose their own identity, and busyness then becomes more important than their own self.
Oh, that is so good. I love that. And my book, I just wrote a book last year called Step Up, Step Out, and Reclaim. And that's what I talked about, learning to be balanced, because you, even in business, like you just stated, you can give it your all and all and be totally thrown off. And so I believe I begin to see more blessings when I work on being balanced. And like you said, you got to not be on one side, and and don't give the other side any attention. And you're right, you can use church as your crutch. And I believe I did that for many, many years. Even before I married, I was really, really busy in the church, just doing everything. And it hit me one day, you got to balance that out too. And spending that more intimate time with God for me became more important than just being busy doing everything. I'm glad you pointed that out.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
such a burden and we don't realize it. So transitioning yourself then, and so we're so grateful you've been transparent. So transitioning yourself then, Charlene, to how you ended up then. I know you were in nursing, and nursing can
Hmm.
be so codependent because the hours are horrific.
Yeah.
In hospitals, they barely give you enough time to even take a 5 minute potty break, let alone eat some food. Um, and so it's yeah. And so did you go into the Advantage Health Connection?
Okay. Well, actually, I'm glad you pointed out. I worked in hospitals for so many years, and I went through that 24/7, working day, noon, and night. And then I kind of transitioned into home care, community based, and I realized that was my heartbeat. Long term care. I've worked in long term care nursing homes, and then I went to the community. But I made that transition primarily to Advantage Health Connection because I started my own staffing agency. And so, what happened with the staffing agency, I ended up working with, and coaching a lot of CNAs, PCAs, and nurses, and just really, I didn't realize what I was doing, but really, I was coaching them and empowering them and trying to help everybody to stay on the job, and not realizing that they were under the same pressures I was, of being stressed out, overworked, and everything. And I retired, well, not retired, I just kind of transitioned from the clinical working for someone else, and I became full time working my own business. And the Lord just kind of directed me in the area of caregiving, because when I was working in home care, it was like I was going into individuals' homes, and it was like certain homes you could go into, didn't matter what size they were, you could just feel the spirit of the Lord there. And I knew with those clients, I would always make them last because I wanted to be able to give them, the most time, and then I would be off for the evening. I could give them extra time. And so, what I realized from that home care journey is that I was actually a caregiver coach, and I began to coach people on their journey, and I was just really into it. And so, about 3 years ago, the Lord directed me to have a prayer breakfast at my home, and I brought together maybe like 20 individuals. Some was home caregivers, some was neighbors and friends and church members, and social workers and nurses, and we all came together. And the Lord has said, I knew it was something he was trying to get out of me, but I couldn't really pull it all together. But at that session, we all came into an agreement that caregivers, whether you are a nurse, a home caregiver, a social worker, a doctor, whoever, you needed some support. And
Yeah.
so we began to pray at that event, and that was sort of, I can call, the breaking point for women with vision. And so the following year, we had another prayer breakfast. It was a burnout. It was called the Burnout Prayer Breakfast. And we nearly had almost 100 ladies to come out on a stormy winter day in North Carolina. They had threatened that we were going to have the biggest ice storm on that day. And don't you know, we had people come from out of town, and we made it. The storm came at 7 o'clock that Saturday night. It was God ordained. And so
Wow.
that was sort of the birthing. And from there, we have just been connecting with people around the world. Especially since COVID came along and we had to pretty much transition to virtual. And it's almost now that we're reaching a lot of different types of communities virtually. So that's kind of how Women with Vision kind of got started. And as you stated, our mission is to, empower and to elevate and just uplift women to be the best version of themselves and to just thrive. We don't want you to just sit back. And even with having to be in, we have to keep each other empowered and motivated.
Wow, that's amazing. I just want to let you know, I didn't want to interrupt you. When you're moving with your hands, your face keeps getting distorted, but I thought I'd let you. It's hard, I know. Isn't it hard to? It's so
Yeah.
hard to stay because when I go like this, it's like my whole face gets distorted. So I just thought I'd let you know. But
Okay.
I love what you're doing, and I have a friend of mine that I'm going to introduce you to that will take you to another level with what you're doing. One of the things God's blessed me with is the power of networking when I meet people
Mhm.
and connecting them. And I have this man and his wife who you will love, who owns a property in 4 hours outside of Punta Cana in the Dominican, and it's
Oh,
a 21 room villa on the ocean
wow.
on a
Oh,
private beach, private swimming pool with a big gazebo to do workshops, a yoga platform, and a beautiful restaurant. And he's a doctor himself. He's a former, I think, psychiatrist, and they built this villa with the purpose of obviously for vacationers too, but they do about twice a year. They open it up where healthcare providers can come together
oh,
to retreat, unplug, and recharge because their lives are so busy caregiving that many of them don't, and then they can come together and collaborate that week with their different education to go back recharged into their fields with all this new knowledge by collaborating. It's a collaborative group
wow.
of wellness people. But I'll
Mhm.
get that to you because I think this could really help your organization and what you guys are doing. So,
Thank you.
and
Thank
I think
you.
I saw one of your videos. Mick. I think it was you. Help me if I've watched so
Okay.
many. Did you just do a thing with Hillary on lymphatic system with the trampoline? Was that you or was that Lotus? Was that
That was
that
Lotus.
was
That's
Lotus?
her and
Okay,
Lotus.
okay. I
Yes, but
always
I
get
know them and I love them so much. Yeah, that
yeah.
was Lotus.
Well, I asked you that because lymphedema and lipedema is so prevalent in the
Hmm.
diabetes community, is it not? Lymphedema.
Yeah, it's one of those chronic conditions. Yes. Uh-huh.
So you understand that, and I'm sure you've worked with your community in that arena, correct?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Yes. Well, it's just such a privilege what you're doing because when people need caregivers, and especially when they're at the end of life. Hospice is an amazing program, but the caregivers who come in, the CNAs that come in as caregivers,
Mm-hmm.
are so impactful. I'll never forget my mother's caregivers. I still remember Tina was my CNA, and Janice was my hospice nurse when my mother was dying of peritoneal cancer. And the beauty and the grace of a caregiver and what they bring to the family is irreplaceable. They're just amazing, amazing people that go alongside of the family when they need help. So you're doing amazing work.
Thank you so much. And I have truly enjoyed talking with you today. And I'm grateful for Braveheart. And you are truly brave bringing these workshops and platforms together. And I'm very grateful for the connections that you're bringing together. It is a blessing.
Well, in closing, I always like to ask a couple of fun things and kind of go off a
Okay.
little bit. So, what is one fun fact about you that you'd love to share with the audience? Any fun fact about Charlene that you can think of?
Well, Well, actually, they say I'm kind of boring in the home. My husband is full of jokes, full of life, but I do like comedy, clean comedy, and I love going out to comedy. I don't know. I don't have anything really, really funny, but I just love being around people, hospitality, parties, clean parties. I just love entertainment. I love entertainment.
Well, you would absolutely love then my church. I go to Woodland Hills Family Church in Branson, and our
Okay.
senior pastor is a professional comedian as well who travels the circuit and does Christian comedy. And we
Oh,
just did for Valentine's 4 weeks before. We did 4 dates in 4 weeks, and we ended it with a comedy show at our church with a professional comedian from Nashville. And my keynote speaker, who's speaking at my event on March 12th, Dr. Laura Wood,
ah,
she's a drama therapist, but she's also trained in improv. And so
okay.
when her and I have done our events, we always intertwine improv in with the heaviness of burden release, because when you're dealing with
Yeah.
heavy burdens in your life, you need to balance it with joy and laughter.
Yes, you really do. I tell you. And we're always for our events looking for a comedy to see who we can get to help us to laugh a little bit more. We love it. Yes. Thank you for sharing her, Dr. Lord.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty good now at improv, so maybe I'll come and do the improv with you because I've
Okay.
gotten
Yes.
really good at it. Um,
All
so
right.
the other question I would like to ask you: if someone told you today you had to delete all of your apps on your cellular phone except two, what are your two must-haves on your cell phone?
Oh, two must have apps. Okay, my bank. I gotta find out what y'all doing with my money. Okay.
That's a good one.
Yeah, don't take down my bank app now. And probably let's see, the bank app, and I have a Bible app, church apps. If you can leave those two, I'm good to go. All right. All the other stuff we'll have to.
That's that's awesome. I love those. Those are great choices. So with our theme, God gave me the theme. This didn't come by myself. God gave me the theme this year, and he told me, "Jill, I want you to spread hope, health and healing to the world in
Mhm.
2021." And so
Wow.
I love to look up definitions, especially when I feel like it's God inspiring. So I looked up the definition, Charlene, of hope. And the secular definition of hope means to cherish a desire with anticipation, to want something to happen or be true, like hoping for a promotion or hoping for the best. But in the Bible, hope is commonly used to mean a wish. Its strength is the strength of the person's desire, But in the Bible, hope is the confident expectation of what God has promised, and its strength is in His faithfulness. What does hope
Hmm.
mean to you in 2021?
In 2021, I would say hope mean to me expectations beyond measure. Expectation beyond measure for me.
All right. Health. Health is a state of complete physical, mental, social well being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. There are 7 areas of the abundant life that Christ refers to in John 10:10, and we all need to take care of them all to experience true biblical health: spiritual, physical, mental, emotional, financial, occupational, and social. Each area of your life is connected to all the others. What does health mean to you?
Health means to me to heal the heart. Heal the heart. If you get that heart healed, then eventually everything else is going to line up. Resources are going to come. You're going to be able to connect your physical and emotional well being together. So, heal the heart.
And that kind of goes with the last one too, so we'll kind of combine it because the last one is healing. And so it says,
Okay.
the Bible says with the word healing, says, heal me, Lord, and I will be healed. Save me, and I will be saved. For you are the one I praise. And the people all tried to touch him because power was coming from him and healing them all. So, do you have anything else to add of what healing means to you besides healing the heart? Is there anything else you wanted to add to that?
The healing to me is the power. That's the power. I'll say heal power healing. Yes.
Power healing. All right. Well, this has
Yes.
been amazing to finally get to know you. I've messaged you and texted on Facebook, but to do a live with you has been just such a gracious privilege, and I am blessed to know you more, Charlene, in my life. So thank you so much for joining us today. And audience, I would love if you would be so kind to support us and our speakers and sign up today at braveheartworkshops.com for the virtual online event Hope, Health, and Healing in 2021. It's March the 12th from 1 to 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is on a Friday, so if you have to work that day and can't attend, still register because we will email you the full recording of the event and you can listen to it at your leisure. The investment is only $28.99, and you will be blessed abundantly by the stories of these amazing speakers. So get online today, register before we sell out, and we'll see you on March 12th. Thanks again for joining us, Charlene, and we hope that you can make the event too so people can see and connect with you.
Thank you, Jill, and I'm looking forward. Thank you so
And
much.
before we head off, I just want to really quickly show you Charlene's bio, and on it, it has her website to connect with her. This will be listed on the YouTube channel as well as my website, so you can reach out personally to Charlene. So again, thanks so much for joining the Connection Show, everyone, and have a most blessed and wonderful day. Bye, Charlene.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you so much.
Bye bye. Thanks for joining us on the Connection Show. Let's connect now. Let's restore, renew, and reconnect in community. Enhance connection in our online connection circles. It's a place to meet up, gather, and feel welcomed. To join us, go to braveheartworkshops.com. Click on the Books Podcast tab and then the Connection Circles drop-down. On the pop-up, join our Connection Circles Facebook group. Our circles meet from 8 to 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. share story, topics, and laughter with men and women. To learn more about Connection Circles, go to braveheartworkshops.com. Thanks for joining us on The Connection Show, and have a great day.